So Republicans, Donald Trump, congratulations. You won the White House. Yes, Hillary Clinton won about 500,000 more votes, but he won more electors. And that means that according to the U.S. Constitution, once the Electoral College meets and votes, Donald Trump is going to officially be the president-elect. Let that sink in, America. This guy is going to be the president of the United States and the face of the country to the world.
Automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the.
Great job, America. So now, to the 60,265,858 people who voted for Donald Trump, and the nearly 100 million people who didn't bother to vote at all, even though you were eligible, we here at AM Joy are going to tell you what you've won. Donald Trump now heads the Republican Party, which controls all three branches of government. They control the House, the Senate, and the White House. And the Supreme Court is poised to be filled by the new Republican president. Now, you've given Trump a man alternately described as vengeful, erratic, narcissistic, dangerous, and temperamentally unfit to be president, and that's just what conservative Republicans said about him. You've given him control of the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the IRS. Pretty ironic, since he probably hasn't paid taxes in 18 years, not to mention drones and nuclear weapons. Politically, Republicans no longer have any excuse to not do the things that they've been promising their voters for decades. And Trump has no excuse for not doing the things he promised during his campaign. And that means that once he gets to Washington, Trump will have to get really busy. He's promised to build a wall across the southern border. Now, that's going to require an appropriation from the Republican Congress. And why wouldn't they do it? I mean, you wouldn't want Trump voters punishing you in 2018 in the midterms for not keeping your promises, right? Mexico paying for it is not going to happen. So, America, if this wall is going to get built, you are going to have to pay for it. Trump has promised to cancel DACA, meaning 728,000 young people who have identified themselves to the federal government under the protection of President Obama will be at immediate risk of deportation once Trump takes office. Congress doesn't have to lift a finger to make this happen. Trump can simply rescind President Obama's executive orders and start the deportations through ICE, which he will control. And also through local police departments, some of whom have been quite enthusiastic about his candidacy. Trump has vowed to repeal Obamacare and replace it with something terrific. That means the Republican Congress will need to either pass a new repeal bill or simply send one of the 50-plus repeal bills already passed in the House to the Republican-controlled Senate and then to Trump's desk. To prevent Democrats from filibustering, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell can simply end the filibuster on the first day of the new Congress. Once the repeal is signed, what happens next is that 22 million of you, presumably many who voted for Donald Trump, will lose your insurance. That number could go even higher because now Trump is saying he'll keep a provision of the law that, left by itself, could force insurance companies out of business. We'll have more on that later in the show. Trump has also vowed to institute a ban on any new Muslim immigration to the U.S. and even Muslim tourism to the U.S. Now, if you're in a state with a large tourist economy like Florida, you might want to start thinking about what that means to your state's bottom line, since Middle Eastern, Asian, European, and other international tourists offended by this idea might also rethink a visit to the United States in the Trump era. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court will now have an open lane to overturn Roe v. Wade, meaning women may soon be refighting issues of legalized abortion and maybe even contraception state by state. For Black Lives Matter activists and anyone who valued the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department as the protector of voting rights, prepare to face Giuliani time. Unless, of course, Rudy becomes Secretary of State instead of Attorney General, as the rumor mill suggests he prefers. And then, hello world, he could be joined in the cabinet by Pitchfork Sheriff David Clark as head of the Department of Homeland Security. That would be interesting. And that's not to mention foreign policy, where a pro-Putin administration in the U.S., with a pro-Putin administration in the U.S., a woman is now leader of the free world. No, not that woman. This woman, Germany's Angela Merkel. She is now all that stands between Russia and its global ambitions, and we'll explain that in a bit. So now that I've told you what you've won, Trump America, allow me to tell you what you've lost. You've lost the morality card. No longer can the U.S. go around lecturing the world about democracy, because in our democracy, the person who got the most votes will not become the president. For the second time in the last 3 Republican presidential victories, Nor will the party that got the most votes control the House of Representatives. Again, we're required to accept this affront to democracy because that's our system. But our acceptance doesn't make it any less undemocratic. And hey, maybe it's a good thing that we can no longer go around the world lecturing them about how to live. You've also lost the notion of an exceptional America, because as it turns out, we're just another Western nation falling to the ethno-nationalist forces sweeping across Europe, from Brexit in the UK to France's Marine Le Pen, fueled and egged on by the Russians and feeding on the fear of non-white and non-Christian immigrants. We, as it turns out, are not so different after all. You've also lost the right to moralize to blue America about family values. Now, we sincerely hope and pray that your daughters and your sisters and your wives and all women and girls are never disrespected, never abused the way the next president of the United States has boasted about disrespecting and even sexually assaulting women, including walking in on teenage pageant contestants while they're naked. When your sons and daughters ask you if little girls are as valuable as little boys, or if they should emulate the President of the United States, we'll leave that to you to explain. And lastly, you've lost the right to rattle on about the party of Lincoln and Reagan. You are now the party of Donald Trump, the party of the alt-right, of Breitbart.com. You've ratified Trump's vulgarity, his crassness. You saw exactly who and what he was, and you chose it. You're going to have to own that. If the incoming president makes you feel proud, I'm very happy for you. But please don't tell the people who are afraid that they have no right to be. And to my friends in the media who are rushing to normalize Trump, who are blithely calling on parents and teachers of scared Latino and Muslim kids and little girls and boys of color to come together and accept what's happening, while Trump ushers in an emboldened KKK and an alt-right that will soon have a place in the White House. Let's remember that nothing at all has changed about Donald Trump. Nothing. He's still the same historically unpopular person who's under criminal investigation over Trump University, whose foundation was revealed to be a sham of self-dealing, whose campaign, the Washington Post reports, was in direct contact with Russian authorities, and who's in unknown amounts of debt to unknown foreign entities in a way we've never seen in a president. He's still the guy who's made racist, misogynistic statements that have offended virtually every group in the U.S. He's still the guy who said this.
Automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the.
We owe it to the country to cover him with clear, open eyes. This isn't about access or normalized, homogenized politics or the pageantry of succession. We need to cover the next president with the same cynicism that the current president was treated to, and with the same zeal and skepticism and doggedness that we expended on, oh, I don't know, Hillary's emails.